I need to find the best way to learn math and science.
It's brilliant.
Whoa.
Here's a new way to learn.
In this course, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to get started programming in Python. Now, Python is one of the most popular programming languages out there, and it's by far one of the most sought after for jobs. And so if you're trying to get a job, or you're trying to, automate your life, or you're trying to write awesome scripts to do a bunch of different things,
It's
then
actually,
Python's for you.
it can be
Honestly,
a 7
more and
foot
more
blade.
developers every day are moving
You
their
get a lot
projects
bigger
over
than
to
that,
Python
actually.
because it's such a
Alright,
powerful
well, anyways,
and
just
it's
put
such
that
an
away for
easy
now.
to use language. A lot of programming languages out there just aren't very beginner friendly. There's a lot of syntax, there's a lot of little things that if you get wrong, the program will yell at you. Python is the complete opposite of that. You basically just type out what you want to do and Python does it. It's that simple. There's not a whole lot of syntax to learn. The learning curve is literally zero. You jump in, you can start writing your first program in seconds. In this course, I'm going to teach you guys everything you need to know to get started in Python. I designed this course especially for Python, and each lesson has been specially designed with examples that will help you along the way. With so many people starting to learn Python, the question isn't why should you learn Python? The question is why shouldn't you? And I think for a lot of people, the reason they might not want to learn Python is because they're intimidated or they're afraid that it's going to be too hard. Trust me, I'm going to hold your hand through this entire course. We're going to talk about all the core concepts in Python. We're going to look at everything you need to know to start programming in Python and start being confident and start writing scripts and start writing programs that are awesome and doing cool things in your life. Anyway, I'm super pumped to be teaching you guys Python. I can't wait to get started in this course, and I hope you guys stick around and follow along with the course and learn this amazing programming language. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to install Python onto your computer. And we're also going to install a text editor that we
You
can
should
use
see me
to
do
write
the
our
logic
Python
schematics for an
programs in.
888.
So the first order of business is to actually install Python
Because
on your
888,
computer.
right?
So what we
you
want
come
to
in,
do
you
is
do
head over
8,
to
you
our
go
web
home.
browser,
Well, 10,
and you
6,
want to go over
8,
here to this
whatever.
page. It's just
10, 8, 6, depending on what you do.
www.python.org/downloads. And on this page, there's going to be two buttons down here. And it's just going to say download Python 3.6.3, and at least that's the version that I have right now, or download Python 2.7.14.
I'd be happy to.
So here's the thing
because
about
there's
Python.
a whole bunch of other
There's
stuff that
actually
needs to be
two
done.
major versions of Python
Like this
that
stuff.
are in use currently. There's Python 2 and there's Python 3. So you can
This
see
stuff.
over here, this is like 2.7.14.
Yeah, how does it
basically
feel?
any Python
How do you
2
like it, buddy?
version we would just refer to as like Python 2. And here's like the latest Python 3 version. And so there's these two versions that you can download,
right?
and the first thing we have to decide is
Come back
which
up here for a
version
minute.
do we
Come
want
back
to
up here.
download. And here's
Come
the
on,
basic
don't run.
difference.
Don't run
Python
away.
2 is a legacy
Ditches,
version of
ditches,
Python, which
ditches,
basically means
ditches,
that
ditches,
it's
ditches.
like an
And
old
if you
version
hit
and it's not being
this part
like
of the
actively
saw,
maintained or supported like officially
I'll let
by
you right out,
Python
Judo.
anymore.
If you hit
Python
this part of the
3
saw, then
is
this
like
part
the
of the saw
future of
doesn't work.
Python.
If
It's
you
like
hit
the
this
newest
part of the
version,
saw,
it's the one that's getting
this part of the
actively
saw won't
maintained
work.
and supported. And so there's pros and cons to picking either one. A lot of people will say like Python 2 has been around longer, and so there's more like libraries. There's basically just more Python code written in Python 2. So therefore, like there's a few more things that you can do in Python 2 than you can do in Python 3. But then again, Python 2 is not supported, and 5 or 10 years from now, probably no one's going to
Get
be
back to
using
this.
it. Python 3, like I said, is like the future of Python. It's the newest version. It's the one that is sort of being maintained going forward. So for the purposes of this
There,
tutorial,
there,
I'm going to be
there,
teaching you
in
guys
here, over
Python
there.
3.
Whole bunch of
So we're
things.
going to want to download Python 3.
Whole bunch.
Now, here's the thing. Like,
We
if you learn
are,
Python
what?
3 or you learn Python 2, the differences aren't
3
very
minutes
big.
into this, and
There
you're
are a
super
few
dead, right?
differences
This
in
is the
like
first
some
thing you saw.
syntax and just some
This is
little
all you know.
things
All
here
you
and
know is
there.
pain
But if
numbers.
you learn Python 3, you'll be able to jump right in and code in Python 2 as well. Don't let anyone tell you that you have to learn one or the other. We're going to learn Python 3 just because it's, I think, probably the best for a beginner to learn. And so that's
In
the
the
one that we want to
beginning, there was
download.
formula,
So I'm just going to
correct?
click download Python 3, and we're going to go ahead and download
I
this
think
version.
we're gonna
And
need
when that's
a
done
little
downloading,
bit more,
I'm just going to
brother.
head down to my downloads folder. And you'll see here we just have this file. Just
Bring
gonna
it to
double
this
click,
house.
and we get this like Python installer. So I'm just going to click through here, and we'll be able to install Python 3 on our
How
computer.
would you
All
like
right, when
to
that's
be
done
upmade
installing,
today?
we can just
That's really the
close out of
question
this,
you wanna
and
know.
we should be good to go. So now we have
We can
Python
use
3 installed on
Field
our
theory.
computer.
I
The next
believe
step
this
is
is
we need to
one of
choose
Dirac's
a text
equations.
editor. So we're going to be writing a bunch
Hubble,
of code. So we're
Heisenberg,
going to need
excuse
some,
me.
you know,
I
environment,
think this
some
is something
program that we can write all
Faraday's or
that code in.
electromagnetism.
And really,
one
you
of
can
those
write
two
Python
out
in any
there.
text editor. You could
Then
write
there's
it in
some
like
hot garbage that I
Notepad
threw
or
into all
TextEdit.
this.
It doesn't really matter. But there are special text editors that are designed just for writing Python.
It's straight
code.
hot,
And
hot
these are
garbage.
called IDEs,
This-
and that stands for
This is not hot
Integrated
garbage. This is
Development
Aristotle's
Environment.
common sense
It's
physics.
basically
There's
just
a
a
big
special
difference.
environment where
We've been dead
we
for a
can,
long
you
time.
know,
We can't
run and
argue, and
execute our
they
Python
have a
code,
comprehensive
and it'll
eye.
basically like tell us how we're
Me,
doing. So if we're
on my horse
you know,
track,
if we
I'll
write
just
something
tell
that's
you.
wrong or we
There's a trick.
have errors, it'll kind of point us in the right direction of what we need to do to fix that stuff. So in this course,
Who's
we're
this
going to be
one?
using an IDE, and one of my favorites and one of the most popular IDEs for Python is called PyCharm.
This one.
So I'm over here on this website. It's called
Okay.
jetbrains.com/PyCharm. And this is the IDE that we're going to be using in this course. So I'm just going to come over here and click this big download now button.
Well, depending on
And
what's
we'll go ahead
relative.
and download this PyCharm program. Alright, so I'm getting this page over here. You can see there's two versions of PyCharm.
That'll be
One is a
important for later.
professional version, and that one's like paid, so you have to pay for it.
See,
But then there's
you
this
might
community
do
version
better
down
here with
and that's
than
free and open
most
source.
of the
So I'm
people.
just going to download this
When,
one.
especially if you
And this should have everything we need
have
to
a little
get
experience
started
with
using
Rob
Python.
chip or
Alright, when that finishes
MOS,
downloading, I'm
Raspberry
just
Pi,
going to pull that up in my downloads folder.
55588. This stuff should
And
be
again, we can just
right
sort
up
of
your
run
alley.
this guy. And I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to have to drag it over to my applications
yeah,
folder.
me too.
Alright, so we now have PyCharm and we have Python 3 installed on our computer.
Pretty
So
much ready to
we're
take
ready
over
to
the
start
world.
programming
Yes.
in Python.
Just walk right in there and tell them how it is in the mill.
My job
Hardwood
is to
grade
make
association.
college easier because students have a lot on their
Well, we're gonna have fun with you.
plates.
Mike Harper, an econ major who piles on the pressure.
Grammarly can help her stress less.
Back
This
to
term paper's got to be great. It's a third of my grade.
In this
how does it
tutorial,
feel?
we're going to create
How does
our
it feel?
first
I'm
Python
finally,
program,
we get an inch.
and
We
we're going to
take
be
it.
able to run it and see how everything works. The first thing I want to do is open up PyCharm. So PyCharm was the IDE,
But
the
there's a reality
integrated
to it. The
development
math
environment
still works
that
the
we
same.
downloaded in the last tutorial.
If you got a
So I'm
programmer
just gonna go ahead
line
and search for it on my
and they
computer,
know it,
and I can
like,
just open it up. And when we
amongst
first
them,
open up PyCharm,
they're
we should
all
basically just get a window
the
prompting
same
us
timeline
to
or loops
create
or
a project.
systems,
So you can see
like,
that down here.
I'm gonna
Actually,
put a
the
bunch
first
of
thing I
ones
wanna
on the
do, though,
outside,
is
some
come
ones
over
in the
here to
middle, some
configure,
zeros.
And I'm just going to
Use
click on
some
preferences.
matrix logic to
And
get
I
it out.
actually want
But honestly,
to
make a
change
web
the
page.
appearance.
And we
So
just got done with
I'm
one.
going to go ahead and give this a theme. So I just went over here to appearance and behavior, appearance, and I'm going to change the theme to dark yellow, just because I think it's a little bit easier to use and
They're
look at.
squeaking
But you don't
about
have
it.
to do
I
that
don't
if
know
you
what's
don't want
going on. Lights are
So
flashing,
down
blinking
here, I'm
at
just going to
me,
click
and
create new project.
computer's overheating.
And it's going to give us this little window right here, so I can just name my project. And I'm just going to name this Draft. And then there's this other
Because
option
there's a
down here
point
where it
where
says
you
Interpreter.
will actually crash
Now,
the computer.
What we want to select is
Voltage,
Python
amps,
version 3.
wattage.
So if I click down here, you'll notice that there's a couple different options. So
Very
I'm on a
important.
Mac computer,
These are
and by default, Mac has Python version 2
basically
installed on
seeing
it. If you're on a Windows machine, I'm not sure if it does, but
this.
in this tutorial, we're going to be using Python 3. So you want to make sure that you have Python 3 selected as the interpreter. Otherwise, you might not be able to fully follow along with what we're doing in this video. So now I'm just going to come down here and click Create, and this is going to go ahead and create our project for us. Alright, so now we have our Python project up and running, and I want to show you guys how we can create our first Python program. So over here in this draft folder, and this is just that project that we created, I'm just going to right click and I'm going to say new, and I'm going to come down and click Python file. So we want to create a new Python file. This will be our first Python program. And I can just give this a name.
Hopefully if you've been
why don't we
watching.
just call this app. And I'm just going to click OK.
Whenever
Alright, so now we
this
have our
gets
first
rolling.
Python file open.
Hey, we have one file
And we can just
and it is
start
an
typing
app.
in some Python. So I want to show you guys just a very basic Python program. And this is just going to be a hello world program. So we're just going to print something out onto the screen. So what I want to do is I want to type out print, and I want to type in open and close parentheses. Now, inside of this parentheses, we can make some quotation marks. And inside of the quotation marks, I'm just going to type out hello world. So this is like a very basic Python program. And what this is going to do is it's just going to print out hello world onto the screen. So now what I can do is I can actually run this file. And we're actually getting a little error here. It wants us to create a new line at the end of the file. And so now in order to run our Python program, I'm just going to come up here to the top. And I'm just going to click run. And we'll click this run button right here. And now we'll see what happens. So it's asking me what I want to run. I can just click app. And down here at the bottom, you'll notice that we have this text that just got printed out, hello world. And so whatever I print, or whatever I put inside of this print statement is going to get printed out down below in the console. So as long as you're getting that print statement to work, then you've actually written your first Python program. And as we go forward in the course, we're going to be writing all sorts of awesome Python programs, and we're going to be doing all sorts of cool stuff. In this tutorial, I want to talk to you about writing a basic Python program. So we're going to write just a very simple Python program. We're going to look at how we can go ahead and write our programs. We're going to talk about how our programs are getting executed by Python. And we're also going to draw out a little shape onto the screen. So this is going to be pretty cool. I'm excited to talk to you guys about just the bare basics of Python and really just sort of give you an introduction. So over here, we have our basic text editor. So any of the Python code that I write inside of this file is actually going to get executed by Python. So this Python file has a bunch of Python code inside of it. And basically what we're doing when we're programming in Python is we're just giving the computer a set of instructions, right? That's really what programming is. It's just like we're specifying a set of instructions and the computer is going to go off and execute those instructions that we give it. And so the more complex the instructions we give to the computer, the more complex the tasks the computer can carry out. So I want to show you guys how we can use some Python instructions or some Python code in order to draw out a shape onto the screen. So I'm actually going to draw out a little triangle. So over here,
Again,
we can
I'm a
actually
complete
print
novice.
something out onto the screen
And
in Python using something called
Again, I
print
understand
statement. So I can
this
just
by
type out
watching
print,
MIT
and inside of these
doing it.
parentheses, I can just type some quotation marks.
There's
and
a
inside
skill
the quotation
to it.
marks, we can put whatever we want
This
to
is a
print out onto the
45-minute
screen.
demonstration
So I'm
Penzo
gonna
has down
copy this,
to
and I'm
like
actually going to make a few of these
scientific
little print
law.
statements. And we're going to actually draw a shape. So we're going to
So
draw
again,
like a
when
triangle
one of the
type
biggest
shape. So down here, I'm
problems
just going to draw a forward slash.
is having
and then
it
up
in
here,
somebody
I'll make a
else's
space,
hands
and we'll do another forward
comparatively.
slash.
One of the
Here
tricks
we'll make
is
two spaces,
have a
we'll do
complete
another forward
novice
slash,
and get
and
them
over
to
here, we're gonna
do
make three
this
spaces and a forward
and use
slash.
their fingers.
And now I'm
It's
going to draw like
a
a vertical bars going all
monster.
the way
It
down.
really is, and it's a super important thing given the
And
generation
actually,
we
do
have in
some
front of us
underscores here
today.
as well. That'd be kinda
For
cool.
other people too, just
Alright, so now we have our triangle looking shape, and you can see
Come on,
it looks
put
kind
in.
of like a right triangle. So I can save my file.